It's Wednesday, the 18th day of May 2022. Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. My name is Kenneth. Jesse, let's take a look at our top stories. Coming up tonight, Member of Parliament for Nkranza South has described the death of Albert Doncar as one of the extrajudicial killings that go unpunished in the country. A group of environmentalists threatened to sue government for the declassification of portions of the Achimota Forest Reserve, accusing the nation's leadership of having acted in bad faith. Also coming up, nationwide strike by school feeding caterers continues unabated, leaving pupils to bear the brunt. We look at what next as a crime stakeholder meeting failed to get the caterers back to work. And later on the international front, 9 people killed after a gas cylinder explosion led to the collapse of a building close to a popular market in Nigeria's northern state of Kano. Details shortly. Hello again. Let's begin from the Bono East region, where the Member of Parliament for Nkranza South has described the death of Albert Doncar as one of the extrajudicial killings that go unpunished in the country. Emmanuel Ajakum, during an interview with Metro News earlier, denounced the Ghana Police Service's handling of Albert Doncar and subsequent protests by aggrieved youth of the area.
There is inconsistency because the whole thing, in the first place, the police wanted to concede something. That is why Albert was shot and taken off from, was shot dead. Apart from that, whatever I'm gathering from the grounds, I can only tell you what actually transpired, what actually happened from the house. The fact is the young man was picked from his house together with her mother. The mother went to the police station. His statement was taken. Within 3 hours, the young man was killed. This is extrajudicial killing, the same extrajudicial killing that has been happening in Ghana recently, but nobody is talking about it. So they just want to start doing it all the time. Recently, 2 policemen were killed in Ashaman, extrajudicial killing. And probably this is what our policemen have been trained to do now. There is no little hope. In fact, if we have an independent verifier, if I say independent verifier, if we have an independent body doing an autopsy, at least 1 or 2 independent bodies doing an autopsy, we will know the actual bullet. We will know who shot Albert. We will know where it transpired. This is very simple. It's not going to be something difficult at all, because definitely the bullet that was used to kill Albert, somebody, an independent expert, will be able to tell us how it happened. And there were 6, 7 policemen involved. They should be detained. They should be interviewed. They should actually, if I were to, anyway, I will not be able to say that because I don't belong to that club. If I were to be part of that, the club, those people would have been interdicted by now. Now the police in Nkranza are saying that they are not the people who took the young man to go and shoot him. It is rather different police from Accra that took the young man and went and killed him. In fact, if you look at the statement that they have written, you have read the statement. You know that even that same statement, there is inconsistency in the statement. And that same statement was what was used for the previous ones. If you look at it, you can see clearly. So there is something wrong somewhere.
Let's still stay in Nkranza because a high-powered delegation from the National Police Headquarters has been meeting family of the late Albert Doncar and other stakeholders in an effort to bring peace to the area. Residents, through protests, demanded justice for Albert, whom they alleged was picked up from his home and later killed by police officers. We've been joined by a man on the ground, Ibrahim Abode, for the latest concerning the fallout of the meeting. Ibrahim, welcome to the show. Has the meeting ended? Which officials represented and what was discussed?
Hello, I hardly hear you.
Yes, I'm asking you, tell us the fallout of the meeting.
Yes, currently we are still at the police station at Nkranza. The police team that came from Accra, they are still there. They just addressed the media. and the indication is that calm should come, temper should be down as they work and then get into the roots of the matter. They've been able to meet with some stakeholders and then some relevant people within the society, but the family of the first person that is involved in this particular issue really rejected the police proposal to meet them, and they indicated clearly that they are heading to the law court to address their matter. They have lost confidence, according to them, in the police service, and they rather head into the judiciary service to see whether they will just justice for their dear son, Albert Doncar. So as we speak, the police team is still there. They have been assembled in front of the Nkranza police station. The National Police Bureau just addressed the media and made things clear. So that is how it is. There seems to be calm to Nkranza township, but some of the people are actually around. They have come around to see what the police is having for the people. So you see people around the police station, you see police officers all over. So that is how it looks like right now.
Ibrahim, did you say calm has been restored to the area?
Yes, there's calm. We don't really know what might happen next, but currently there's calm. It is not like in the morning where, tempers were still high.
Right.
People who were admitted, are still at the hospital, and some people are really concentrating on the men that are down. So it's currently calm at Nkranza now.
Okay. Earlier, I reported that one person had died and 8 others have been injured. What is an update on that? Are there more cases, or it still remains the same?
There is no any relevant development. The development is that those who have been injured are actually responding to treatment, and the disease happened to be a student of the Nkranza Nkranza Technical Institute, and he's only 19 years old. The mother told us that the son had gone to school and she wasn't expecting her to be part of the demonstration.
Right.
So that is what happened.
Right. And if I understand you clearly, the high-powered delegation from the Ghana Police Service is still in the area, correct?
They are still around.
Okay. Ibrahim, keep us updated on this particular subject. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Meanwhile, some security experts have expressed concern over the recent killing of Albert Doncar and one other, and described the use of live ammunition in controlling ensuing riots as not the best, urging for calm heads to prevail and best practice. Adib Sani and Adam Bonner both spoke earlier on Newsbeat. The analyst Adib Sani says the police in alarming situations are to use various levels of technical measures for containment, which, unfortunately, they do not. The most recent of such actions he mentioned was the police's response to alleged crime and protest in Nkranza.
How is releasing inmates going to help your cause? How is attacking a police station going to help your cause? I think it is important people understand that, in as much as we're concerned and do appreciate and understand their concerns and their frustrations, but I still believe that you can seek and get the justice without necessarily doing anything criminal. I have my reservations about the police investigating the police, trust me. That is why I've always advocated for an independent body of some sort made up of representatives from various stakeholders, including the police, including SRAJ, and some other agencies. I think that is the right way to go in restoring confidence in the police going forward.
Also speaking to the issue, security analyst Dr. Adam Bonner cautioned the leadership of the Bono East region to go easy on their submissions about the issue to avoid escalation.
I will caution and appeal to the leaders in the Nkranza area who are speaking. I think listening to the MP, I have listened to him we have shared other platforms on other sister stations. When the young man died in the hands of the police. And so some of us yesterday saw this coming and appealed that leaders, traditional leaders, the government, local leaders, the minister, the regional minister, the MC, and the rest should tone down their lamentation, because the more persons like the member of parliament in the area speaks this way, the more they give enough fuel or petrol to the agitating youth to do a lot more, things that are, I would term as reprehensible.
We'll stay a bit more on this particular subject because I'm being joined in the studio by government spokesperson on governance and security, Palgrave Doncar, for a conversation on a variety of security-related issues, including this one. Palgrave, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Thank you very much, and a very good evening to you.
What is government's response to the death of Albert Doncar and the subsequent clashes we've witnessed in the area?
Well, I believe very well that as a government, we are very concerned about these rising clashes, but we have very extreme confidence in the security services. As you are aware, government has an IGP, and the IGP has deployed members of the administration of the Ghana Police Service to be in the community to engage. And I'm proud to come in here. I've received some very good news that calm has been restored to the community. And so we'll continually just remind the young people in various communities to ensure that they don't take the law into their own hands. But clearly, investigations are going to be done, and people that are held culpable will be brought to the law.
Speaking about the security, the Ghana Police Service has come under massive scrutiny for, punishing civilians and beating them in some instances. What's government's take on that?
Well, entirely disagree with those assertions. Police are continually the friends of the citizens. They are there to protect us and not to harm us. And so in instances where any of such has occurred, clearly an independent investigation is going to be held, even within the police service, to be able to see what went wrong and then be able to ensure that it does not repeat itself again. And so that's where we would like to leave it as a government.
But sadly, that's not the situation we are seeing at Nkranza, because we are learning that one person has died and 8 other people have been injured as a result of civilian and police clashes.
So, I mean, clearly you are aware that when civilian and police clash and some civilians want to be able to threaten police, sometimes it's about personal security. But like I stated, these issues are going to be investigated, and once they are investigated, persons that are found culpable will be brought to the law.
Right, and as a governance expert, what is your general assessment of how this particular issue is being handled?
Well, clearly, I think that from a governance perspective, the various parameters and key stakeholders are being involved. Clearly, the police is in the community persons are having conversations with the police, family is being involved. And so clearly, on the governance angle, I believe very well that all the various key point agents are ticked.
Right. Usually when these instances happen, the police are shielded, the ones that are found guilty. Are we to expect something different if investigation is supposed to commence into this matter and some of the police officers are found culpable, especially in the death of Albert Doncar and also the death of another person and the injury of 8 other people?
No, clearly, I believe that if the investigation goes on and police persons are found culpable, no one is above the law. Everybody is subject to the 1992 Constitution. So clearly, if they are found culpable and there's evidence to prove otherwise as well, then clearly we'll see that those police persons will face the rigors of the law.
Right. Palgrave, hold on, because we'll continue that conversation shortly. But before then, let's bring you another security issue, because the general security outlook in the sub-region is in dispute. The National Security Ministry, in a statement signed and issued by the Sector Minister Albert Kandapa in Accra on Tuesday, May 17, 2022, said there was good reason to believe that terrorists operating within the region have Ghana as a target. The statement is apart from the travel alert to the Gao region of Mali due to reported attacks on Christians.
That it had cause to believe that the country was targeted for a possible terrorist attack and has thus asked all members of the public to immediately take charge of personal and communal safety. Reuters reported on May 11, 2022, that the Togolese government announced 8 soldiers had been killed and 13 wounded in an attack in the northern part of the country. They noted that marked potentially the first deadly raid on its territory by Islamic militants who had claimed thousands of lives in neighboring countries. According to report, the attack by heavily armed gunmen took place before dawn at an army post in the Penjar prefecture near the border with Burkina Faso. Following that, the Ghana National Security said there is a need to increase security measures in the country and engage the police to be more careful and enhance security at all places of worship and mass gathering. In a related development, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration had also warned Ghanaians against traveling to the Gao region in northern Mali. This is due to the abduction and execution of travelers, especially Christians, including Ghanaians, in the part of the country. The ministry, in a statement, also advised Ghanaians who are already in the Gao region to flee immediately for their safety and security. Those who are unable to leave are advised to minimize their movement, monitor development in their locality, and take precautionary measures.
Right, and we still have Pargrave Boache Doncar in the studio to continue the conversation. Pargrave, about this particular issue, beyond government telling people to be safe, what other preventative safety measures should people make sure that they have?
Things. I believe very well that the entire counter-terrorism framework for the national security is to prevent. I mean, the first goal is to prevent, and then the second really is to preempt, and then the third is to protect, and finally the fourth is really to respond, which we are not too sure we'll get there. But the goal now is to ensure that we do massive education, which is what we have begun with high-level conversations with various stakeholders that are needed. If you read the letter very clearly, we have met with the religious bodies, both Muslim cleric and then Christian clerics as well. And there's going to be continual engagement with major stakeholders, especially places where there are large number of people that are gathered. But we should appreciate that we find ourselves in a very strong haven. Most of our neighboring countries have been attacked. I mean, right. Togo has been attacked, right. Burkina Faso has been attacked, Cote d'Ivoire has been attacked, Benin has been attacked. So they are gradually coming towards the coastal belt. And right. We have risen very high alerts, a number of issues that cannot be disclosed clearly because we're not too sure who is watching and what signals they are picking. But as a government and even as a national security, we are very much prepared, and we are preparing the entire community and the entire country, because this whole conversation is an all-society approach where everyone needs to be sensitive and critical of their security environment.
Right. A portion of the release by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says, in view of recent abductions and execution of travelers, especially Christians, including Ghanaians there, how many Ghanaians have been arrested in Mali?
As we speak now, I don't have that data, but I would get that data and be able to bring that to you.
Right, and the ministry also offered contacts and urged requiring assistance for people to leave Mali in the next 48 hours since the release. How many persons have called that they want to leave the country?
I need to pick that data to be able to give to you readily, but I do not want to misinform. But clearly, work is ongoing. The ministry has opened up its mission offices for people to contact. And clearly, once these people are being contacted, they would be able to find a safe haven to be able to come into the country.
Okay, and people still there, what's your overall message for government from them?
To assure the people that government is working very hard to make sure that they come in country safe. I mean, I think that primarily it's always at the very forefront of the beacon of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo to ensure that Ghanaians at various places where they find themselves and there are chaos or misunderstandings or terror, to be able to secure them safely to come home. And so that's the goal of government.
Right. Pargrave Boache Doncar is governance expert on security. You're still watching Newsnight here on Metro Television. You can also follow the conversation live on Facebook and also on Twitter at Metro TV Ghana. We'll go for a quick break. We'll be back with more. Welcome back. Nationwide strike by school feeding caterers continues unabated, leaving pupils to bear the brunt. A meeting held between the caterers and management of the program ended inconclusively. Though they were expected to have resumed work to cook for the pupils, the caterers said they lacked the financial means to do so, hence the continuation of the strike. They are demanding increment in grants from 97 pesos to 3 Ghana cedis per child and settlement of 2-term arrears. Joining us for a conversation is Helena Appiah. She's the secretary of the School Feeding Caterers Association of Ghana. Hello, Helena. Good to have you on the show. You held a meeting with management of the school feeding program recently. What happened?
Good evening, and thanks for your time. We had a meeting with the management on Monday, but it didn't end as we wanted. But they assured us that we should go back and cook, and that management is thinking about it. It is with Parliament, so we should go back to the kitchen. But what happened is we can't go back to the kitchen because they owe us 2-term arrears, which if we don't get that money, we can't go and cook.
Right. Now that it appears not much have been achieved yet and the strike still continues, what happens next?
Oh, for now, we are waiting for management. We are waiting for them. If they are able to pay us our money, we will go back whilst negotiation is still ongoing.
Right. And have the children been considered? So far, they are not getting food to eat from the caterers and all that.
What's the question? What can we do? Our hands are tied. There's no money. We can't go to the kitchen, the market, without money.
Okay. Helena Appiah, thank you very much for speaking to us tonight.
Thank you.
Kofi Asare is with the Africa Education Watch, and he also joins me via Zoom for a conversation on this. Kofi, welcome to the show. What's your take on the strike by the school feeding caterers?
Good evening. Good evening to your cherished audience. The strike is appreciated within the context of increasing price levels of foodstuff. We are doing an inflation rate of about 23 or 24% on foodstuff. This 1 cedi or 97 pesos per child per meal has been in existence for about 3 years without any increment. If you gauge the level of price changes in the food basket alone over the past 3 years, you don't need any discussion about whether the strike is justified or not, except to say that once the strike keeps some children hungry or out of school because they know they will not get food to eat, it is difficult to say it is justified. But I'd rather say that the claims or the demands of the caterers is more than justified, and that government will have to give them the listening ear that should have been given them 2 years ago.
Right, and now that their concerns have not been met, don't you think they've taken a harsh stance by refusing to cook for the children?
Government is indebted to them for 2 terms. If you appreciate the amount you are talking about, 97 pesos to cook a square meal or a hot meal a day, apart from the amount being a recipe for any business to run at a loss, this amount is in arrears for 2 terms. So, frantically, let's be frank with ourselves. If payment of a mega amount of money meant for cooking food for kids has been in arrears for as much as 6 months or more, how do you expect the caterers to get money to go and buy rice, buy soya, buy cowpea, buy meat, buy eggs, and cook for the children? It's not possible, because most of these caterers actually take loans to finance their businesses. The expectation that once government pays them, settle these loans. And these loans are with interest. So delayed payments of the caterers means that you are actually accumulating their cost of production, because the cost of running their business keeps increasing in terms of the interest of the loan. So everyone should appreciate that majority of the caterers would definitely not have any source of income, any source of capital, any source of funding to cook for the kids until they have been paid. It is just as basic as that. And I want to indicate that the challenge we are discussing, the issue we are discussing, is not an issue squarely, at the doorstep of the Ministry of Gender or the Ghana School Feeding Program. No, this is an issue on the lap of the Minister of Finance. The Minister of Finance announced a 90% increment in the budgetary allocation for the Ghana School Feeding Program from 480 million to about 900 million. Just last year when he read the budget. So the caterer should go to the Finance Ministry and ask the minister where the money he announced is. If the Ministry of Gender has not received any disbursement from the Finance Ministry, there is nothing they can do. Even if they give the caterers a listening ear, there is nothing they can do, because the caterers cannot cook with listening ears. They can only cook with money. So there's a liquidity issue the Finance Minister must sort out. And the recurring issue of agencies in the public sector responsible for providing public service, especially social services, being starved of funds allocated, not being disbursed, must come to an end, because citizens pay their taxes, not on arrears. When it comes to the Ministry of Finance releasing cash to the sector ministries to discharge their duties to citizens, then it becomes a challenge. Right. So we must have a holistic view and a holistic solution to this. It is typically a liquidity issue, right, and not a matter of Ghana School Feeding Program or someone not doing their work. Even though I appreciate that the president's delay in appointing a substantive minister at the Ministry of Gender could have helped manage the situation. But the solution is that the Ministry of Finance must be forthcoming with proper plans to provide prompt payment to people who are providing social services in this country, especially when citizens are not paying taxes in arrears.
Okay. Kofi, let me come in here. The school feeding program has been under public scrutiny for a very long time. What is your general assessment of the program? Has it been a success?
The school feeding program is one of the well-intended policies initiated by President Kufuor. It is not only in Ghana. About 170 countries worldwide are implementing school feeding programs, about 400 million children benefiting. And the economy of the school feeding is actually bigger than the economy of Ghana. Almost $75 to $80 million, a year is spent on school feeding programs, because the world appreciates, especially in Sub-Saharan Africa and also in Latin America, and then also some part of Asia, that having a square meal a day for children enhances their nutritional levels, one. Also, it enhances their survival rates in school. If you go to countries like South Africa, where almost every school has a school feeding program from KG to senior high.
Right.
They have one of the highest survival rates, about 94% in school. We have the school feeding program in only our primary schools, not in junior high schools. Right. So if you look at the data, survival rate in primary schools is very high, but it's very low in junior high school.
Okay.
So we don't need any debate about the relevance of the school feeding program and the continued relevance of the school feeding program. What we need to discuss is how to strengthen the management of the school feeding program. We need off the politics and then end the practice where one party comes in power and then changes all caterers, brings party organizers as new caterers, and we keep changing them and then giving contracts to caterers as political handouts or reward for party lawyers. We need to decouple politics from the management of such a beautiful social intervention targeted at the most vulnerable in society, so that we can approach it as a policy and not as a political promise, and build it.
Right.
Build mechanisms that will trigger price adjustment instead of waiting for caterers to come and demonstrate in Accra and go on strike before official Adam will give them an ear.
Right.
In the food, when we are all
thank you very much
prices are increasing.
For speaking to us tonight. He is with Africa Education Watch. You're still watching Newsnight here. Let's bring you more stories as environmentalists against the classification of portions of the Achimota Forest Reserve have threatened to sue the government. According to a member of the group, the move by government will do more harm than good to the country's ecosystem, hence urging it to rescind its decision.
If this government cares about the environment, as they are saying they do, with the Green Ghana Day and all that, then the most important thing they need to do right now is to protect the Achimota Forest. Cutting down a forest to plant trees doesn't make sense. So in about 19 days' time, we are going to do Green Ghana Day. We are going to plant trees. Whilst we are planting trees, we are giving Achimota Forest to be cut down for brown development. What is the essence of that? I remember the case of Atiwa. They had brought a lot of investors there, but we went to court and it's still in court. And we are not saying we are going to court over Achimota Forest right now, but we are in discussions with our lawyers and we are looking at all the options on the table. If we need to mobilize citizens to go to the streets, if we need to go to court, all those options are on the table. The fact that it has been degazetted on paper, and since they have not gone in yet to start destroying it, there is still hope for reversal. And I mean, this is not politics, but we are saying that cutting down a forest to plant trees doesn't make environmental sense. So that's the point we are making.
Some 6 persons have been arrested by the police and are being processed for court for building at an illegal site at Oblogo within the Wejagbawe municipality and Ga South.
Experts at the Ghana Geological Survey Authority are of the view that Botiano Hills within the Wejagbawe municipality is not for settlement. Information belonging to the authority indicates that the place is dangerous and exposed to erosion and earthquake fault lines. However, activities such as buildings and sand winning by certain individuals have compounded the situation, thereby making it more dangerous. During the visit by the Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, George Mreku Duka, and his entourage, including the Minerals Commission and Police Task Force, the minister ordered for a pull-down of constructed walls and an arrest of some persons who were briskly building without permit.
Using this medium to ask those who have intentions of building here to stop immediately. We're going to pull down the buildings here because we wouldn't allow another apiate to happen to the people of this area. After all, when it happens, they will blame government, and we don't want government to be blamed unnecessarily. Unfortunately, we met people building. We asked for the owners, they couldn't provide. I've asked those people to be arrested, to be sent to the nearest police station for their statement to be taken. Because I've seen NADMO writing danger zone around the structures, yet they continue. They disallowed it. They did not even respect the authority that indicated that inscription on those structures. And I've ordered that those buildings or structures must be pulled down immediately through the assembly.
He urged the police in the Ga South and Wejagbawe to be vigilant and enforce the laws when it comes to sand winning in the area.
It's an earthquake-prone area, and nobody has a permit to win sand from here. Neither will any assembly have that prerogative or that impedance to give permit to build. So those who have been working here are taking the law into their own. I will also entreat the security agencies to be working collaboratively with the assemblies to support them in arresting some of these. Because
for the head of Geohazards Department, Ghana Geological Survey Authority, such areas should be left alone without any settlement or development.
Because this is earthquake-prone zones, and those areas are normally left undeveloped. And the vegetation and everything helps even improve the microclimate in the area. It's not everywhere that we have to develop or mine.
Away from that story, the Supreme Court, through a majority decision, has dismissed a motion brought before it by former Cocoa Board CEO Dr. Stephen Opuni. Dr. Opuni sought to invoke the original jurisdiction of the court to dismiss a decision of the Accra High Court, but was denied such plea.
The presiding judge, Justice Jones Duche, announced a majority decision of 6-1 that the plaintiff's writ invoking the original jurisdiction of the court had failed and accordingly dismissed it. Lawyers for the former Cocoa Board Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Stephen Opuni, sought the Apex Court to overturn the decision of an Accra High Court to his favor. In the ruling, the High Court had it that the prosecution established a prima facie case in relation to 24 charges of willfully causing financial loss to the state, defrauding by false pretense, contravention of procurement laws, corruption of a public officer, and manufacturing fertilizers without registration. Therefore, the former Cocoa Board CEO invoked the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, seeking, among others, a declaration that, upon a true and proper interpretation of Article 19 Clause 1 and 19 Clause 2 of the 1992 Constitution, the High Court acted contrary to these provisions of the Constitution in its ruling dismissing the submission of no case. He also sought an injunction to stop the Accra High Court from hearing his suit until the final findings of fact made against him and another, Seydou Agongo. But the court, presided over by Justice Jones Duche with Justice Ni Ashikote, Gabriel Pangmang, Gertrude Tukono, Mariam Owusu, Herita Mensah Bonsu, and Lovelace Johnson, as members, dismissed the writ by a majority decision of 6-1.
Let's take you to the presidency, where President Akufo-Addo says Africa's over-reliance on foreign aid will not augur well for the continent. He called on leaders to discard the notion that aid will help develop their nations, but rather focus on looking within and cooperating to stir the needed development in their respective countries.
With the coming into force of the African Continental Free Trade Area, cross-border trade on the continent is expected to improve. The experts say the trade facilitating platform will improve the competitiveness of African enterprises through increased market access. According to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, implementation of the AfCFTA will raise intra-African trade by 15 to 25%, or $50 billion to $70 billion by 2040. At the 22nd Annual Conference of Academy of African Business and Development held in Ghana, President Akufo-Addo said African countries must endeavor to collaborate and win themselves of foreign aid.
Africa's economic and foreign policies have been substantially defined by aid, with most national budgets heavily dependent on it. We are not disclaiming aid, but we do want to discard a mindset of dependency. It is, as we have seen, unhealthy for both the giver and the receiver. It is becoming increasingly apparent that Africa must enhance her efforts at self-sustenance and move to a situation beyond aid.
He believes African countries must engage competitively through trade and investments, and the AfCFTA will be the game changer.
I'm by no means saying there's no longer a place for aid in Africa, or that we should disregard what aid has done for us in the past. Neither am I saying that more advanced countries should cease honoring their aid commitments to African countries, or that we should turn our back on investments from outside. I'm saying that African countries need to engage more closely, deeply, and competitively through trade, investments, political cooperation, and enhanced regional initiatives in peace and security. We Africans must take advantage of this historic opportunity that the AfCFTA presents, as it provides both the impetus and catalyst for much-needed sustainable development.
The World Bank estimates that the African Continental Free Trade Area will lift 30 million people out of extreme poverty and substantially increase the income of 68 million people above the poverty line.
Producer price inflation for April has hit 31.2%. We'll tell you that and more after the break. You're welcome back. Business News is next. The producer price inflation for April is 31.2%, a 1.9% increase from last month. So what does this mean? Take a look. And the producer price inflation measures the average change over time in the prices received by domestic producers for the production of their goods and services. And the PPI for Ghana reports the producer price indices with reference to September 2006, the base period. This release shows the annual year-on-year and monthly producer inflation rates for all industry and three major subsectors of industry, that is the mining and quarrying, manufacturing and utilities for the last 12 months. The PPI figure for April 2022 is provisional and is subject to revision when additional data become available. All other indicators are final. And there you have it. The mining and quarrying sector witnessed a monthly inflation of 0.4% and a yearly inflation of 35.2%. Now, the manufacturing sector witnessed 1.2% monthly inflation and a yearly inflation of 38.6%. And utilities witnessed a monthly inflation of 0% and a yearly inflation of 1.1%, although that could soon change. So these are the highlights of this month's PPI, and it says that the year-on-year producer price inflation across the subsectors for April were as follows, as already captioned there. Away to other stories. Small and medium-scale businesses have been said to be the bedrock of every economy, and a lot needs to be done to cushion these two sectors. Over the years, Ishmael Yamson and Associates have organized round-table discussions geared towards providing practical solutions to business issues. This year's event was held here at our premises at Metro TV at Northridge.
The Ishmael Yamson Roundtable Discussion is an annual roundtable discussion that allows business moguls offer suggestions and solutions on issues in the business sector. Speaking at this year's event, a senior partner at Ishmael Yamson and Associates, Michael Yamson, called for an economy that will precede politics. He is of the view that this will place Ghana on a good pedestal when it comes to global competitiveness.
We envisioned an economy that would take precedence over politics. The preeminence of political competition over diligent, innovative implementation of long-term national economic strategy has completely frustrated consistent economic growth and filtered out all opportunities for substantial rejuvenation that responds to the realities of our youthful population and our competitiveness relative to the rest of the world. We have locked up ourselves away from progress as we duel mindlessly over power, projects, and point scoring.
He called on leaders in all sectors to think differently and transform the nation as a whole. For her part, CEO of Ghana Enterprise Agency, formerly known as National Board for Small-Scale Businesses, NBSSI, Kosi Yanke Aye, acknowledged the fact that all actors are relevant to the transformation of the economy.
In trying to transform this MSME landscape, the goal and the focus should not be on one actor. All actors are very relevant and important, especially in the MSME space when you're looking at government's role, you're looking at the private sector's role, you're looking at the role of the civil society as well as NGOs, and how we can all come together to support this sector to be able to grow and transform the economy in a way that we haven't seen before.
According to her, the passing of the National SME and Entrepreneurship Policy has helped government to effectively provide policy direction to rally stakeholders.
For the longest time, this nation did not have an MSME policy. And if you have 70% of your economy not having a policy to provide and guide direction, then you did not really have an economy. And you did not have that sector as an interest. And so government and the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, during a cabinet meeting, approved of this national MSME and entrepreneurship policy, which was to prescribe policy direction. And more often than not, people forget the role of government in policy development.
The 2022 Ishmael Yamson Roundtable discussion was on the theme Building a Transformative Economy, a partnership between the state, the youth, and business.
Phil John Carter will be here with the latest in sports after the break.
My name is Phil John Quarter, and it's time for sports. Former coach of the Blaster, C.K. Aklon, has indicated that every player who wants to be part of the country World Cup squad must justify their inclusion into the team. However, those players must also make themselves to be integrated into the national culture of Ghana.
I think that, it shouldn't be a situation where they just come and play and then go back. They should also learn our culture. They should learn, it's part of it. If you don't know where we're coming from, it's wrong. You come and play and then you go. That's not what we're looking for. Of course, they are doing well in Europe, but it's not enough. They have to come here and get used to the system, get used to the people, and obviously they come for a few days and go, but they must gradually learn our culture and how we go about things. And then, but it is a very, very good thing we should do. We should try and get them, if any of these guys who, the Audreys and the Lampteys and everybody who wants to come, I think we should get them.
Let's go to the presidency, because the proposed 15,000 capacity stadium to be built at Sunyani is on course, according to President Akufo-Addo.
I don't know whether it's because you were coming, and it's just an accident, but today a meeting was held in the Ministry of Sports between the company, CK Engineering Company, who have produced the designs of the proposed Sunyani Sports Stadium. So the idea is of a 15,000 capacity sports stadium. Those were submitted today to the Ministry of Youth and Sports, plus the financing arrangements. Now, financing arrangements, Ministry of Finance will engage the contractors and the consultants to agree on the terms of the financing. So far, they're talking about $45 million. I don't know whether that will be accurate. But you can be sure from this information that Yeguso, we are continuing to look at what needs to be done to complete the sports stadium.
The president of the land assuring the people of Sunyani that the stadium should be ready pretty soon. The 15,000 capacity stadium. Just before we hand over to entertainment, let's focus on the Ghana Premier League. Match day 29 started today at the Accra Sports Stadium with the Phobians beating Bibiani Gold Stars by a goal to nil. Seeing the results on your screen pretty soon and find out how it went. There you see it on your screen. RTU drew 2-2 with Bechem United. Karela managed to pick Great Olympics by a goal to nil. Tomorrow, Legon Cities and Dreams FC will face each other, whilst Ash Gold and Kotoko will be in the Ashanti Derby. That is your sports. My name is Phil John Cortes. Here do I standing by for the latest in showbiz.
Thank you, Phil. Entertainment news is next. My name is Esiodua Akumia. After the release of Kevin Boy's hit song Down Flat, fans easily identified some similarity in its beat with Nigerian artist AV's hit song Big Thug Boys. Kevin Boy was accused at some point of stealing the beat. Earlier on Entertainment Review, producer for both hit songs explained the reason behind the similarities.
About iLife always seems similar. That tune is an old school tune, even from Kevin Boy. Because the very first time I heard, because I've heard Kevin Boy's own, with this guy called, I've forgotten his name, he was featured, yes.
Manifest, yeah.
You get, so that tune is an old school tune that everybody can vibe to. You get? So one thing about bringing vibe, like remaking vibes and everything, you take from the old, you infuse on the new. You get? So that was how that Big Talk Boy came about. And I was like, okay, since there's something like this, let me make something like this for Kevin. And when he did it, it worked for him.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's the motive behind everything. I was like, okay, since this one, okay, let me just, and
Now, a 3-member US-based revolutionary team led by His Eminence Nana Dakobo I are in the country to finalize the acquisition of a 321-acre of land earmarked for a modern film studio, which will be the first in Africa. The project is expected to commence next year at Cebu, Cape Coast in the central region. Now, as a result, Nana Dakobo I and his team, His Noble Lord Jim Larouche, World Diplomatic Federation's Provost Commissioner Europe, and His Right Noble Lord Richard Flynn, World Diplomatic Federation's Provost Commissioner USA, paid a courtesy call on Deputy Tourism Minister Mr. Mark Okrekumante at his office in Accra on Tuesday. But that's it for entertainment news. My name is Asiedua Akumia. Kenneth?
Thank you very much, Asiedua. International news is next. 9 people were killed after a gas cylinder explosion led to the collapse of a building close to a popular market in Nigeria's northern state of Kano. And that's all time we'll allow for this edition of News Night. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.